You tell me, what did you learn? What didn't you know going in that you're glad you know now?
Chuck, first, the overall lesson is that a war with China would be devastating and catastrophic for humanity and the United States. So anything we can do.
There's no winner. We never had a winner. There's no winner in this.
There is no winner, and it means thousands of loss of life and economic catastrophe. Here's what surprised me. Under this scenario, there was an assumed no communication between the United States and Beijing in our military political leadership. Now, our committee had met with Bob Iger and Tim Cook about a week ago, and Bob Iger's been to China 45 times. My impression was Bob Iger understands China more than probably many people in our military. Our business relationship probably has more channels of communication, and we need to figure out how we keep the lines of communication open at the same time for our military. And that was really eye-opening to me that we had no communication.
Why was that assumption made? Obviously, this has been an issue right now. I mean, China continues to block a rescheduling of Secretary Blinken's trip to the nation.
Well, we don't have the same formalized agreement that we did with the Soviet Union, where we had military-to-military communication, where we had methods established where secretaries of state could communicate. And right now, I think Secretary Blinken has done a very good job of trying to figure out how we are tough and make sure we're rebalancing the economic relationship with China, making it clear that they cannot invade in any way Taiwan, but also having communication. And that needs to be formalized. We need to do a lot more to formalize that.
Let me ask about the economic aspect to this, the sanctions. Mike Gallagher told reporters today that you played out those economic and financial moves and the counter moves. Describe to me what that looked like and why do you think it didn't work in this exercise?
Well, it didn't work because to the extent that Xi Jinping is going to be motivated to invade Taiwan, it's out of a cultural reunification. It is out of a sense of having China restore to their nation that they see before the humiliation. And they're factoring in all of the economic consequences. They're factoring in that we control the Strait of Hormuz and can block some of their oil supply. And they're factoring in that they may be able to get that from Russia. And so if they actually take that step, it becomes very hard to deter them. And that's why the deterrence and the prevention has to be beforehand. I actually think that the strategic ambiguity has served the country quite well in deterring it. And when I was in Taiwan, I led a bipartisan delegation. We heard the same from the DPP. Yes, help us get arms and have defense, but continue to have engagement. We've lived with the Chinese up and down for the last 40 years. We want to be secure, but we also want to continue the business relationship.
I'm curious what you thought of the exercise, and is it something, when I had Mikey Sherrill and Mike Gallagher participating in this one, what we did, they both said, boy, more members of Congress ought to do this. Congress ought to do this more often. It was not something that was a regular thing. What did you make of it, and is it something you'd like to see more of?
I thought it was constructive. I thought it was done well. One of the things I want to just praise Chair Gallagher is he's really tried to take the politics out of this. There's not the grandstanding speeches. And I think it's helpful. I do think one thing that would be helpful, though, is to figure out what would prevent war in the first place. I mean, we started with China is invading. And I guess the questions I would want, to your point about an Asian NATO, is if we did move X or move Y, would that deter China? And to game out what are effective deterrence strategies for China.
Do you think we should be putting together a Pacific alliance that looks like NATO?
I think we need to be increasing our defense and arms sales to Taiwan, and we need to make sure we have long-range missile capacity in places and allies where Japan, Philippines, India. I don't know if we need to have a formal structure of NATO, but we definitely need to strengthen the alliances and have the military capability, both naval to make sure there's no blockade and to make sure that there's no amphibious landing.
I want a quick political question for you. Any regrets about going public with your call for Senator Feinstein to resign? Were you the right person to be the one to call for it in California?
I don't know if I was the right person, but I said what is the truth, which is that the senator has just not been able to fulfill her duty. For 75% missed votes. Today, the Judiciary Committee nominated or passed 7 candidates, but they didn't pass 5 of them because Senator Feinstein is not there. And in private, a lot of people have said, yeah, Ro, thanks for speaking out. Now, I know, look, I'm co-chairing Barbara Lee's campaign.
Right.
I said that Gavin Newsom should appoint someone else. I mean, so don't appoint one of the candidates running. So I don't think that creates a conflict. If I was out there saying, go appoint Barbara Lee, it would be different.
I'm curious, you still comfortable with President Biden seeking re-election?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They've named me as one of the 20 people to be a surrogate for him. I'm hoping to be out there making the case.
Have you been asked to be a formal part of the campaign? You just said that. Is that something they're lining up right now?
There was a report in the Washington Post. I learned about it, reading about it in the papers, that I was named to one of these as 20 of his surrogates to be.
Well, you clearly have said yes, right?
And I've said yes. And,
okay.
And I think everyone, well, look, he's been a successful president. And Chuck, here's the view. And you know, I've been traveling around the country. I still think he's our best bet in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Wisconsin to win those states.
All right. I'm up against it. We'd have plenty more to talk about. Good to see you, Congressman. Appreciate you taking some time.